are notes on proportion, so you need to put proportion notes as the title of your paper today. We're going to start off with a few definitions. The first one we have seen before, and it is the word ratio. A ratio is a comparison of two quantities, and it uses division. Sometimes we will see ratios written as fractions, and that's the type of ratio we're going to focus on today. The second definition we're going to look at is a proportion. And a proportion is basically an equation where each side of the equal sign has a ratio. So a proportion is a statement that says two ratios are equal. And if two ratios form a proportion, then we would say that they are proportional. So as a basic example, if we have the ratio 3/6, and we say that that is equal to 1/2 by just simplifying it, that makes a proportion. So you've seen this, we're just putting some words with it now. All right, some of the homework problems that you're going to have will say, tell whether the two ratios form a proportion. Now, it's basically looking for a yes or no. However, you need to do something to show whether or not they actually form a proportion. If you can, simplify the fractions first. So I'm going to simplify 6/4 down to 3/2. And then I'm going to simplify 8/12. I'm going to divide by 4 to get 2/3. Now, 3/2 and 2/3 are not equal. So I would say no, they do not form a proportion. I can also say they are not proportional. All right, besides simplifying the fractions, there is a second way to show if they are proportional. So I'm going to get rid of that work just to show. And what you can do is look for either the numerators or denominators and look for one that can be multiplied into the other. In this case, 4 times 3 equals 12. If these are proportional, then the top would have to be multiplied by the same thing. 6 times 3 is 18, which is not equal to 8. So that's a second way that I can show that these two ratios are not proportional. All right, a second example, this time I can't use the multiplying across since 4 doesn't multiply into 10 and 10 doesn't multiply into 25. So I'm going to use the first method and simplify 4/10 down to 2/5 by dividing by 2. And then 10/25 can be simplified by dividing by 5. 10 divided by 5 is 2. 25 divided by 5 is 5. Now this time the two ratios are equal, so it does form a proportion. So I would say, yes, these ratios are proportional. All right, next we're going to see another property called the cross products property. Now in the cross products property, let's just start with some of those fractions we just saw. Let's do 2/5 and 10/25. Okay, we just proved that those are proportional. In the cross products property, what I can do is multiply 2 times 25, write that in red, and I can multiply 5 times 10. And if you have two ratios that are proportional, then their cross products will be equal. So we can set up a new equation that shows those two are equal. Now let's just make sure 2 times 25 is 50, and 5 times 10 is also 50. 50 equals 50, so I can be confident that 2/5 and 10/25 do form a proportion. All right, now we're going to look at a word problem. It says you can run 2 laps around the track in 5 minutes, and then the next day you run 3 laps around the track in 7 minutes and 30 seconds, or 7.5 minutes. Is the number of laps proportional to your time? So I'm going to set up 2 ratios. I'm going to do number of laps divided by the time. And typically when we are writing unit rates for speed, we're going to put time in the denominator. So the first day, you run 2 laps, and it takes 5 minutes to do that. Okay, let's simplify that so we can get a unit rate. Okay, a unit rate, I know I need to have 1 of something in the denominator. So I'm going to divide by 5 in the denominator, and I'm going to divide by 5 in the numerator. And then when I do that, 2 divided by 5 is 4/10 of a lap. So day 1, it took you 1 minute to run 4/10 of a lap, or you could say 4/10 of a lap per minute. Okay, now let's look at the second day. The second day, we ran 3 laps, and it took 7.5 minutes to do that. Okay, just like before, we're going to find a unit rate. So I need to make this out of 1 minute. And I'm going to do 3 divided by 7.5. And when I do that, I happen to get 4/10 of a lap, just like before. Okay, because I have 2 fractions that are equal to each other when I simplified them down, then I would say, yes, the number of laps is proportional to my time. All right, next we're going to solve the same problem, except instead of using unit rates, we're going to use cross products. So I'm going to set this up just like I did before. I had 2 laps in 5 minutes. The second day I had 3 laps in 7.5 minutes. Okay, I'm going to test to see if these are proportional using cross products. So I'm going to multiply 2 times 7.5. Next, I'm going to multiply 5 times 3. And now I can just simplify. So 2 multiplied by 7.5 is 15. 5 multiplied by 3 is 15. And because those 2 amounts are equal, because my 2 cross products are equal, then I could make the same conclusion as before and say, yes, the number of laps is proportional to my time. All right, next we have an example. It says you earn $56 walking your neighbor's dog for 8 hours. Your friend earns $26 painting your neighbor's fence for 4 hours. Part A, we need to calculate your pay rate. So we want to know how much money you can make per hour, or in other words, we're going to find the unit rate. Okay, you make $56 in 8 hours, and I want to know how much money you can make in 1 hour. So I'm going to set up a proportion like this, and to get from 8 to 1, I'm going to divide by 8. So in the numerator, I need to do the same thing. 56 divided by 8 is 7, so I'm going to make $7 per hour. And again, that is a unit rate. How much money do you make in 1 hour? Okay, to find your friend's pay rate, we're going to start the same way. This time your friend earns $26 in 4 hours. Okay, set up a proportion, and we're going to find the amount of money they make in 1 hour. So we're going to divide by 4, and in the numerator, we're going to do the same thing. 26 divided by 4 is going to give us $6.50. So your friend's pay rate is $6.50 per hour. Again, it is extremely important to have units in the denominator and in the numerator. And then part C, are these rates proportional? Well, we just simplified them down into unit rates and they are not the same. So we could say no, these rates are not proportional. I'm going to solve it a second way just so you can get used to the cross products. And we're going to set up our $56 over 8 hours, and we're going to put that equal to $26 over 4 hours. Okay, now when I do cross products, I'm going to multiply 56 times 4. And the second cross product, I'm going to multiply 26 times 8. Okay, now we're going to set these two equal to each other. We're going to simplify. 56 multiplied by 4 is 224. Then when we do 26 multiplied by 8, we get 208. And since those two amounts are not equal, I'm going to put a line across the equal to show that they are not equal. Again, I would say, no, these rates are not proportional.